Happy Tuesday, ladies and gentlemen, Allincrypto here, and welcome back, guys, for another jam-packed daily market update. Looks like we're going to be getting some huge news today as Trump is set to make a major announcement in a speech. We'll see if this has anything to do with the cryptocurrency space. Certainly, we know that on the 21st of September, Dennis Porter, and he's got a lot of pushback about this tweet on Twitter, or X as it's now called, did announce that a massive political news was coming for Bitcoin, Tuesday being today, that will reshape the trajectory of Bitcoin politics. This will be a defining moment. Is that the speech that Coinbase, or CoinDesk, I should say, are referring to? We shall see. That's not just the only news that we have for you today. There's a hell of a lot going on. Yesterday, the financial service GOP tweeted this, and it has everything to do with 401ks and Trump's executive order. And this is from the 22nd of September, so it is the 23rd today. And ultimately, this is about allowing access to alternative assets like crypto in people's 401ks, of which there's nearly $10 trillion that's getting unlocked. We do also have news that Scott Lucas, who is essentially the head of the CFTC's Global Market Advisory Committee, or the co-chair, I should say, that relates to digital assets, the digital asset subcommittees, the co-chair of this. He's the kind of head of JP Morgan. We looked at the head of JP Morgan's digital assets. We looked at the kind of ironic nature of that, or hypocritical nature of that in itself. He has now been announced as a speaker at Ripple Swell. Very interesting. And there is news in regards to the SEC and CFTC essentially hosting a roundtable on the 29th of September. We're also going to talk about what's happening in Argentina and what Scott Bessent's answer to all of this is. So a hell of a lot to get into. Let's start off with what Dennis Porter posted, and that is a massive political news coming for Bitcoin Tuesday that will reshape the trajectory of Bitcoin politics. This will be a defining moment. He's got a lot of pushback on X as a result of this. I think we live in a very overhyped space, naturally, and I think people are expecting this to be a nothing burger. It still may be. We did say that we'd give Dennis, when we reported on that earlier, or when he posted this over the weekend, we did say we'd give him the benefit of the doubt and see what took place. You know, we're not one of these people that like to throw stones at others. I always think the parable of Jesus and the adulterer is a great one and provides lessons that we could all learn from. In regards to them going to stone the adulterer, and he gathered everybody round and he said, okay, it's time, let's do this. Let the first one amongst you that hasn't committed any sin and that is without sin throw the first stone. Crickets were heard and nobody threw a stone, because we've ultimately, or are ultimately all sinners. But really where I'm going with that and looking at it as a parable is that, you know, none of us are perfect. You shouldn't really throw stones at others, certainly if you're not immaculate yourself. And I don't know that there's that many immaculate people among us. I'm certainly not. But it looks like this is potentially going to come to fruition. This is from CoinDesk. It says, President Trump claims he will give a major speech tomorrow morning. Will it have anything to do with a strategic Bitcoin reserve? This is from Simply Bitcoin. Developing, Dennis Porter says massive political news is coming for Bitcoin on Tuesday that could reshape the entire trajectory of Bitcoin policies. What do you think? As it is Tuesday today, we don't have to wait too much longer to find out what this speech or announcement is going to be all about. And I would like it to be some huge news. Wouldn't it be very ironic or timely that there was $1.6 billion worth of ding-dongs getting leveraged or liquidated leverage trading crypto that took place just before some sort of a catalyst takes place? That's typically how the game goes. They'll flush you out before sending it in the other direction. Let's cover some pretty huge news. This was reported on or posted by the financial service GOP. And this is from French Hill, who's the chairman of the financial service GOP, the Honorable Paul Atkins, the US Securities and Exchange Commission. We write to express our support for President Trump's August 7th, 2025 executive order on democratizing access to alternative assets for 401ks. Investors, EO standing for executive order, we applaud the EO's policy that every American preparing for retirement should have access to funds that include investments in alternative assets when the relevant planned fiduciaries determines that such access provides an appropriate opportunity to enhance the net risk adjusted returns. The EO directed the Secretary of Labor to consult with the Securities and Exchange Commission to determine the necessity of parallel regulatory changes. The EO also directs the SEC to facilitate access to alternative assets for participants directed defined contributions retirement savings plans by revising its own applicable regulations and guidance, specifically noting that such facilitation may include consideration of accredited investors and qualified purchase status. Given these directives, we encourage the SEC to provide swift assistance to the Secretary of Labor and to make any necessary revisions to its current regulations and guidance. We also request the SEC review bipartisan legislation being advanced in the 119th Congress concerning accredited investors. We are hopeful that such action will help the 90 million Americans that are currently restricted from investing in alternative assets and secure a dignified, comfortable retirement. And of course, they are talking about crypto when it comes to alternative assets. Talking about the SEC, this is from the SEC, the US Securities and Exchange Commission. We'll be hosting a joint roundtable with the CFTC on September the 29th to discuss regulatory harmonization priorities between our agency. Here are the details. Let's dive over to this. And you can see here the SEC and CFTC will host a joint roundtable to discuss regulatory harmonization properties between their agencies. Only in-person attendees need to register. The event will be webcast. We will be essentially looking at this. And you can see this is what they have to say. It's a new day at the SEC and the CFTC, and today we begin a long-awaited journey to provide markets with the clarity they deserve, said SEC Chairman Paul Atkins. It goes on to say, and CFTC Chairman or Acting Chairman Caroline D. Farm, in the statement, by working in lockstep, our two agencies can harmonize our nation's unique regulatory structure into a source of strength for market participants, investors, and all Americans. Tuesday's joint staff statement on spot crypto asset products is only the first step. They continued, to the extent possible and appropriate in the public interest under existing statutes. Our respective agencies should consider harmonizing product and venue definitions, streamlining reporting and data standards, aligning capital and margin framework, and standing up coordinated innovation exemptions using each agency's existing exemptive authority. The roundtable will be an opportunity to discuss regulatory harmonization priorities. It will be held at the SEC at 100 F Street, New York, Washington, D.C., and will be open to the public and webcast live on the SEC's website. We will be looking at that. This roundtable represents a pivotal step towards building more coherent and competitive U.S. markets, Chairman Atkins and Chairman or Acting Chairman Farm said. By working together to align our regulatory frameworks, the SEC and CFTC can reduce unnecessary barriers, enhancing market efficiencies, and create space for innovation to thrive. Our shared goal is to ensure that America remains the global leader in capital markets. So this is going to be interesting. This is taking place, like I say, on the 29th. There's a hell of a lot going on. So I do believe that is going to be next week. This is what Farm tweeted. No FOMO, just YOLO. Find out how to watch and at the link CFTC and SEC. And we know that there was some pretty huge news in regards to their sort of advisory board. This took place on Friday. She's congrats to JP Morgan Scott Lucas, who will be join or who will join the FTDA US's Sandy Claus, or Cal, as co-chair of the CFTC's Digital Asset Subcommittee of the Global Market Advisory Committee. Their efforts will support markets and the CFTC's crypto sprint. We spoke about the ironic nature of this. He has now appeared as a Ripple Swell speaker. Here he is. So he's now a speaker, head of markets, digital asset, JP Morgan. There are clips of him talking about their blockchain, their EVM compatible blockchain, and what they're trying to do there with the repo markets. It's not just the repo markets that are going to benefit or adopt the crypto space, but markets more broadly. We also know that Farm was over in the Republic of Korea, and essentially she was taking part in some US digital asset and crypto policy. I wonder if this was XRP Sol. Very interesting. We also have some interesting news in regards to Argentina. The peso is in freefall. US lifeline to Argentina met with Bitcoiners' doubts. US steps in with a lifeline as Argentina battles peso turmoil. Investors fight and President Javier Milei waning credibility crypto adoption services. It's a big talk, right, that he gave. I've been skeptical from the beginning, and I think his ultimate plan is to dollarize. The dollar is a weapon for all intensive purposes, an economic weapon, a national weapon. And I think it's going to be used in this case. And actually, Scott Bessent has piped up in regards to all of this, as you would expect, to throw them a lifeline, which essentially is to lever them up, as you'll see, with more dollar-denominated government debt from the Treasury Exchange. He was probably put in there to do a job, Milei, more than anything. It's amazing. All these libertarians never quite seem to be that, do they? And this is what Scott has to say. He says Argentina is a systemic important US ally in Latin America, and the US Treasury stands ready to do what it needs within its mandate to support Argentina. All options for stabilization are on the table. These options may include, but are not limited to, swap lines, direct currency purchase, and purchase of dollar-denominated government debt from Treasury's Exchange Stabilization Fund. Opportunities for private investment remain expansive, and Argentina will be great again. We remain confident in President Milei, support for fiscal discipline and pro-growth reform, and necessary to break Argentina's long history of decline. May April commence. Make clear our commitment to Argentina's people and to President Milei. POTUS, so the President of the United States, and I will meet with President Milei on Tuesday in Manhattan. More details will be available shortly after the meeting. I'll let you guys think about that or make your own opinions about all of that. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it from me. We wanted to drop another daily market update, as we do every single day. If you're not already subscribed, do consider becoming one. If you want to find out how I'm playing the crypto space, consider becoming a patron. And on that note, I'm going to love and leave you. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next one.